Hello and welcome to bergkamp-wonderland radio show. Arsenal in crisis once again, and to share the joy, I have John Welsh with me.
You all right, Chase?
Hi, pal. You okay?
Yeah, pleasantly surprised by today's result. Good performance. So I'm confused. I think you need to stay hosting, mate, because whenever I host, it goes horribly wrong.
Well, what did I tell you earlier on?
I am a Jonah.
You are. You are. I had the phone call earlier on this morning from Chris. He couldn't make it. And it's a case of, okay, not a problem. I'll get John to... No, I won't get John to host. He's a bloody Jonah. Let's leave it there. And our other partner in crime today, it's Karl. How are you, Karl?
I'm good. This has been a week from hell for me. It really has. But Arsenal has managed to put a smile on my face by getting a draw. So, every cloud and all that. So, yes, I'm actually happy.
Well, when we met up on Friday night, last Friday, I felt for you then because you were shattered. And this week, every step of the way, I've just thought, poor Karl, poor Karl, poor Karl.
The underground would run perfectly if there was no customers on it. And I think that's what we need to do.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, it's great to have you on board, pal. First time we've done this season together, so I'm looking forward to it. Okay, guys, Chelsea 0, Arsenal 0. Strange team selection, I thought initially. I'll come to you, John, on this. No Ozil in the squad, no Alexis. Do you know why Ozil wasn't in the squad?
The report said it was a knee injury. I saw on Twitter pumping people saying that it was a scrape on his knee and he just didn't fancy it. I don't know how much I buy that. I'm not sure myself. Was it a tactical decision to give him the game off because it didn't quite fit with maybe the plan the manager had today? If that was the case, then I think it's a good thing, and I don't really have a problem with them sort of fobbing off the injury thing. All clubs do it if it's a big name player. Maybe it was genuine. It might have been, it might have been a genuine thing. So that was the first surprise. The second one was Alexis. We spoke about this midweek. I was surprised that he started and played the full 90 minutes in that game because of the Chelsea match coming up. But I thought you want him fresh for that and want him to start. But in the end, you can't really blame the manager. I think he got his decisions right. Iwobi starting ahead of him was still a little bit of a worry for people because, especially after the midweek game, the first half, Iwobi in particular, albeit playing out of position, didn't have a great game, and he hasn't been in the best of form. There were still concerns over whether a back three would be right, but that worked out today. The midfield as well, there's been question marks over that all season. They were really solid in there today, so the manager got his spot on in the end. But yeah, there's certainly a few eyebrows raised for me. The one from sort of looking at it from the other side of things, from Chelsea, I was a little bit surprised that Fabregas started for them. I thought Bakayoko might start just so they could overpower us a bit more in midfield. Fabregas is a bit less likely to do that, but all good, mate, in the end.
Happy days, happy days. Karl, game kicked off as expected. Chelsea came out of the blocks in the ascendancy. What did you make of the first sort of quarter of an hour?
The first sort of 15 minutes, they were sort of on top of us. Their passing movement was really good. They were closing us down. I think we didn't get our passing sort of together. And as you expect, the home team sort of dominating a little bit. And they were, to be honest. And you look at that and you start to get the frighteners a little bit. You think to yourself, okay, Arsenal just need to settle down and honestly just try to get a grip of the game. And as the game sort of went on, Arsenal sort of grew into the game. We had a period in the second half, about 10 minutes, where we dominated. I think we had two good chances. We had the Welbeck chance where the cross came in and Welbeck didn't get quite a clean header and it just went wide. And I thought that was a really, really good chance. And you're hoping that he's going to score that, but obviously he didn't, man. We sort of move on, and I thought that we defended really well in just that little period, and Chelsea were struggling to cope with us, and we were the dominant team. We were on top. We were closing them down. We were creating chances, defending well, and as the game sort of went on, I started to feel a bit more comfortable. And I know there's always dangers of Arsenal because at any moment Arsenal can sort of switch off and the opposite team can score. But Chelsea didn't really worry me today. I mean, in the first half, I thought towards the back end in the first half, we were the dominant team. We just created chances and we got comfortable. Our passing rhythm sort of came to us. And whereas you're always nervous for the first 15 minutes, just because you just don't know how the game's going to pan out. But Chelsea didn't really create a threat to us. They had a few chances, but nothing sort of clear cut. I mean, the Pedro chance where it was 1-on-1, and all credit to Monreal. Where that speed came from, I don't know, because he was like Bellerin. He just came out of nowhere to sort of put him off, and that's what we kind of needed. I wasn't a big fan of kind of Monreal playing at centre back, but I'm growing into it now at the moment because I think he's finding a new position. And whereas maybe he's getting a bit older and he can't get up and down that wing as much as we would like him to, as a centre back, you don't have to do that much more running, and he can kind of just compose the game and slow it down a little bit, and that's what he's doing.
Yeah, to be fair, you know, I thought as a team we were very solid today. You know, defensively we were excellent. The Pedro chance there, Karl, John, that was probably their best and only clear-cut chance of the first half for Chelsea. What did you make of that? Was it a defensive lapse by us, or did you feel it was good play by them?
It's difficult because a lot of our good play came from pressuring them, at least in the first half anyway, from pressuring them high up the pitch, which is going to leave you exposed at the back, which is tough when you've got players like Willian and Pedro you're playing against. So you can't, the issue is you can't give someone like Fabregas the time on the ball to pick a pass out. If you're going to pressure high, you've got to pressure him as well, so you can't get a pass for the out ball to someone like Pedro, who is going to get behind the back line and beat most players for pace. If anything, I think he got too much of a good touch on it, if you know what I mean. As he brought it down, it kind of stuck to his foot. If anything, he wanted to kind of knock it on a little bit more, and it might have opened up because it kind of got stuck under his feet. So, but like Karl said, Monreal got back in well. Cech stayed on his feet for as long as he could, you know, made himself big. And that was definitely their best chance. And I mean, the moment the ball went over the top, I thought, oh no, here we go, 1-0, this is it, and the heads will drop. But, you know, we kept it out. And then I think Karl's right after that. I thought after about 20 minutes, we really started dominating the game. We were passing slick. The speed of our passing, the difference from midweek and the Liverpool game, notably, obviously, is the big one. The speed that we were passing at and actually using the width in the team, especially in the first half. Bellerin was roasting Alonso quite a few times. You know, obviously trying to get a little bit of payback for the knockout blow last season. And he was really getting in behind him. We were doing the right things. When you play against the back three, you need to exploit the pace behind the wing backs, which has happened to us a lot, obviously, because Conte and Fabregas are going to sit in there in midfield. You can't really go through the middle. So those long diagonals, Iwobi and Welbeck were really stretching the defence, trying to pull centre backs out. And I just thought everyone worked really, really hard together today. And obviously later on, I know we'll come on to what would have happened if Sanchez and Ozil were in the team. I think it's notable that perhaps you don't have the best players on the pitch, but you have the hardest working players. And in some games, that's more important, especially in the big ones away from home. So just really good, solid performance all round. And I mean, after that Pedro chance, did Chelsea have another good one? But I think there was the Hazard run, maybe in the second half later on, but that was it. I thought we kept him pretty quiet, and Courtois, I'm fairly sure he made more saves than Cech had to.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think, you know, you look at the way we grew into the game. We looked solid from top to bottom. Iwobi and Welbeck and Lacazette working hard up top. The midfield really disciplined, really making sure that they cover the defence. Kolasinac and Bellerin working hard on the side on sides, tucking in when they needed to. And as you said, Bellerin had Alonso on toast, but by God, do I wish I had Alonso's hair. Magnificent. But Karl, I'm going to come to you about the defence. I think Mustafi in the middle of the back three works really, really well. Good distribution, good communication. You're leaving Cos to sort of do his thing, use his pace on the right-hand side of him. And Monreal today, as you've already alluded to, very aggressive, very effective. The back three, because we spoke about midweek about the boys preferring a back four, and I think they made some valid points. But I thought the back three today was tight. What do you think of it?
I think it worked well today. It is not my favorite sort of formation, but today it definitely worked well. Everyone knew their specific role. Everyone knew what they needed to do. Usually, sometimes it doesn't really work well because almost the left hand doesn't know what the right hand's doing. But today, you could see the communication on the pitch. I think communication is so important. And everyone was constantly talking to everyone, you know, telling them to push up, telling them to come back, telling them to tuck in, telling them to go wide. You know, that's what I like to see. I like to see our defense really, really talking to each other. And also, there was a lot of times where Royale and also Koscielny was telling the midfielders to drop back, to go forward. And that's what we would like to see. I think once there's an understanding of the formation, and I think we've got a proper handle of it now, I think that's what we need. And going forward, I mean, I know in midweek we slotted back into a back four, and that's what sort of was the game changer for us. And I think we can do that with ease because I think that the players that we have, they're used to a certain formation, but obviously if they need to change it up, they can. But for me, the back three works really, really well. And I think as long as we pick our best players in their proper positions, and I think that's the key. I think playing the right people in the right position, you know, it's a genius thought. Who would have thought of it? But as long as that happens, I think we will do well. I think, barring the Liverpool game, obviously we were trying to keep Oxlade-Chamberlain obviously playing people out of position, and we didn't need that. But as you can see, when Bellerin plays on the right and Kolasinac plays on the left, it shows that what we can do.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, John, sort of midway through the first half, towards the end of it, Xhaka took a shot from outside the box. If only he had that on target, it was one hell of a delivery, wasn't it?
Yeah, he sort of grew into the game. I thought he was a little bit quiet at first, and he wasn't getting on the ball as much as we've seen him, especially the back end of last season when he was really spraying it about. But he had a bit more help today. Ramsey was tucking in a bit more, not getting forward as much. So as it progressed in the second half, he was starting to dominate a bit more, being able to get forward at the right times, not just running sort of headless chicken. And we've seen a couple of times, obviously, he was taking those shots and really rifled it in. And it's nice now to be able to have we can do all the pretty stuff and the intricate football and nice on the ground, very quick. But sometimes you just got to have someone in the team who can, get hold of the ball and 20, 30 yards out, absolutely lever it and give the opposition keeper something to think about. I thought him and Ramsey today worked really, really well. That's the most disciplined I've seen Ramsey play for a long time in that position. He was still getting forwards. We saw a couple of times he made some good runs, and like there were balls in for him that weren't quite reaching him, and he made obviously a really good run and nearly scored. But he's disciplined in getting back today and covering the defence and helping out his centre mid partner. There was a great tweet, and it wasn't an Arsenal fan. I think it was a journalist saying the player of the season for the last 2 years is somewhere on the pitch, but apparently plays in a Chelsea shirt, and it's not Aaron Ramsey, because Ramsey just completely dominated Conte, I thought, for the majority of that first half, and made him kind of look pretty average. I almost started believing all the things Chris had said about him before and how bad he was. So, really, really good day for the Welshman and Xhaka in particular in midfield. I thought they were great, and they made Cesc and Conte look a little bit average first half at least.
Yeah, they did have a hell of a game. I'm going to come on to you, Karl. Set piece. We had going away to the bridge, or going away in any big game, set piece, I think, is very important that we maximise the opportunities from that. And again, we had a couple of poor corners where, we're not threatening the goal at all. We're not really putting Chelsea under too much pressure. Is that a bit of a concern for you? I don't want to be negative today because it's a decent result. I thought we deserved more out of the game, but it was a decent result. But it's about time we sharpened up our set piece play.
To be honest, it's been a problem for years. It's not sort of the back end of last season or beginning of this season. It's something that's been going on for a very long time. I have a problem with both and I again, like you, I don't want to keep this negative, but I've got a problem with both offensive and defensive set pieces. For me, space doesn't score goals, players score goals. So I'm always a fan of man marking. Offensive, I just think our corner takers, it's very rare we beat the first man. And no matter who's taking the corners, whether it be Xhaka, whether it be Ozil, whether it be Santi when he was on the pitch, we just have a problem with actually getting the ball in to like the penalty area or the back post. I don't know if it's something that we work on, like maybe the near post flick on. I know it's worked a few times when Per used to play that near post flick on, but it's something that you'd think to yourself, we should maximize. We got two of the best dead ball specialists sort of by delivery, Ozil, who is absolutely brilliant at delivering dead balls, and also Xhaka as well. So why is it we always have a problem with beating the first man? Whether it's something that we practice, who knows? We don't know what goes on behind the football pitch, and for us to say, "Oh, it doesn't," we don't work on it. We don't know. It's just it is a problem, and like you said, Jason, we need to maximize these opportunities because when it's like I say, it's a free kick. It's almost like a situation where you can definitely score from. And when we used to have Per, who used to be a starter, who's 6'7", one of the tallest guys in the Premier League, you think to yourself, put the ball on his head. You've got Giroud, who is one of the best headers of the ball in the Premier League. Put the ball on his head. And we just don't do that enough, I don't think.
No, absolutely, absolutely. John, you've already broached the subject, the Ramsey effort, where he somehow dribbled through three defenders, got a toe poke away, hits the post, comes out, and hand on heart, I thought Lacazette was going to bury it. Unfortunately, he skied it. Go on, talk me through it.
Yeah, it was weird because there was a few times Ramsey had done that previous in the game where he looked like he was making a decent run and he couldn't quite get the ball under control. And he did that in that run, but he just managed to keep his feet. And once you're in the box, the defender obviously never wants to go to ground or make a tackle, so it makes it a lot more difficult. But how he managed to control that and then just sort of try and toe poke it, obviously really unlucky, it came back off the post. But when that falls to Lacazette, I know it's his left foot, but you just think, I don't know if he's gone to hit it too hard. I think he's probably more than anything, he's gone to really rifle it when I think he can just kind of caress it, almost let it just hit off his foot and kind of let it float in because Courtois is going to get nowhere near it. But yeah, that was really disappointing. And it's like the only gripe I have with the game. And again, I don't want to moan because I expected we were going to lose today, I'll be honest. Is the Welbeck header, I thought at least should have got it on target. And Lacazette should have definitely got his on target, if not, scored, to be honest. And he'll be really disappointed with that. Because
I thought with Welbeck he tried to place it earlier on, and instead of just lashing it at the front post or whatever, he's tried to place it and he's just got it wrong, which was unfortunate. With Lacazette, should he have just tried to place it? The ball comes out to him quite quickly, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it does rebound quick, but he's a very clinical player, and he's very quick. His speed of thought is quick. He's a natural finisher, so I think if you put him in that situation again, probably 9 times out of 10 he probably scores that. That's the sad thing about it, and that's the big difference today. But I think that if you look on the balance of the game, if you give Pedro that ball over the top, again 9 times out of 10 he probably scores as well. So it's a draw in the end is probably the right result, but it's from an Arsenal point of view, it's really, really disappointing, and he'll be very upset with that. I don't think that's why he got taken off. I think it's just more down to physicality and still learning the league, and you still got to give him some leeway because it is his first season, and he's only had a couple of games. It was I did feel it was a little bit of a tougher game for him today. It was a bit of a step up from what he's played so far in the league.
No, that's a fair comment. Karl, let's wrap up we're going to wrap up the first half now. It kind of ended with a little bit of a panic at the back and Monreal rifling a clearance at Cech, which Cech just takes down in his chest as if he's doing it 5 times a game. Not a problem. What do you make of all that?
That was definitely a heart in the mouth moment. Literally, I stood up and shouted like, "What the fuck are you doing?" it was. Do you know what? The way Czech took the ball down, it was brilliant. Like, and you don't want those sort of things, but if it happens, that's how you want it to handle. And as critical as we've been, or I've been of Czech, if I'm really honest, sometimes you need a cool head, and Czech definitely does bring that to the team. He's almost like an elder statesman, someone who just knows when to slow the game down, knows when to quicken up. Because there were so many times that Czech grabbed the ball and easily could have just done a quick counter attack, but he thinks to himself, no, let me just slow the game down. There's no point of trying to rush and then trying to give away the ball. And you know what Monreal done. I guess I don't know if he had any other. I mean, apart from kicking the ball into Rose, I think that's the only thing he could have done. But you know, credit to Czech, because a lot of other keepers may have tried to pick it up or try to hit it with their hands, and obviously may have been classed as a pass back. But not credit to Czech. He's took it down and done what he needs to do to get rid of the ball.
Yeah, he did. He handled that really well. John, to wrap up the first half in general, I thought Warby played really well. Good, quick feet, worked hard. Welbeck, that press, he kept on going. The midfield, magnificent. But you know, as a team, we handled it. We were in the ascendancy. I felt if it had gone on 5 minutes longer, we'd have grabbed that goal. You know, we had the better chances. You know, we were unlucky at the end of our first half. What do you agree, or do you have a slightly different take on it?
No, I was disappointed to hear the half-time whistle, and I think the players on the pitch were as well. It's a bit strange because you look at the two teams, and obviously Chelsea played. Was it Tuesday or Wednesday? I can't remember which night they played, but we played the Thursday. We had less days recovery. All right, we rotated a bit more, but you thought Chelsea would come in the fresher. And as the first half wore on, I thought we looked a lot fitter and we were quicker to everything. The midfield was starting to dominate a lot more. Conte and Fabregas were getting nothing, and we were really starting to pin Chelsea back. But also at the same time as we were being sensible and going, okay, no, we need to come back out, draw them out a little bit, try and find a bit more space. And, you know, we weren't always just trying to play the pretty football. We were doing the direct thing as well and hitting the diagonal. So I think, yeah, if we had another 10 minutes in that first half, then maybe we get the goal and we go in at half time and it's a lot better. But I'm sure the manager was very pleased with the performance of the players. It's funny because we were talking, obviously, in our little group. Steve mentioned Iwobi, and he was a little bit worried about him starting. And he made a really good point about, as you said there, his quick feet, because the Chelsea players do tend to swarm around you, and he has got that ability just to wriggle out of a bit of space. And if you can do that and then make a pass, you can take 2-3 players out of the defence just with that kind of move. So him and Welbeck today, I thought were really, really superb. And it was obviously unfortunate what happened to Welbeck second half, but yeah, got into half time and I was like, wow, this is really good. I'm disappointed we're not 1-up. If we can perform like that second half, I thought we've got a good chance to. At that point, I was thinking, you know, we can win the game rather than get a draw. I was like, yeah, we've got a good chance. You know, Sanchez is still on the bench, Giroud is, so we've got more to bring on and we can really go for it.
Yeah, it was a bit disappointing. Right, a quick shout out to people in the chat box. It's the same old faces. Davey Marr, how are you, Dave? Jim Howson, he's taking the mick out of everybody. Chris hasn't been able to make it today. He's got things on. The poor bugger is a busy little bee. We got Chander Essa Karan Rammurthy. How are you, pal? You're back. Kamal Zarif Shuhari. Norma, Josh Kaklukas, you know, everybody, Alonso, everybody's in there. Guys, thank you ever so much. Apparently, I'm crackling again. I'm going to have to change headphones now.
You're right.
Okay, cool. Right, Karl, the second half kicked off and Chelsea, again, put some pressure on us, you know, as expected, home. But we had a couple of chances, and there was a poor ball by Lacazette. And this, when I say this, guys, I'm not trying to have a pop at the players. I think, to a man, everybody played well today. I really do. But let's look at it. We had a couple of opportunities. Lacazette, edge of the box. He plays the ball straight to a Chelsea player. It will be clear break. Instead of releasing Bellerin early, he keeps the ball too long. What did he kind of make of that? Were we a bit anxious, or after they had a period of pressure on us, or was it just bad luck?
I think you'll find sometimes we're reluctant to move the ball quicker, just because there were so many times where I think that we could have a quick break, and instead of passing it forwards, we end up passing it backwards, and it kind of gets annoying. I don't know if you remember, Giroud had one where if he had turned, he had grass to run into, but instead of sort of, you know, just taking the time to turn, he popped it off quickly to backwards. You think to yourself, like, if you're trying to do a quick break, look up. There are some times where Iwobi does tend to hold onto the ball, and again, we're not criticizing him, but it's just an observation. He holds onto the ball longer than he needs to. And I don't know if that's something that he's taught. I don't know if that's just him in his game. We just don't. There are times where Arsenal are known for their passing. Arsenal are known probably one of the best passing teams, not only in the league but in Europe. When on our day we are brilliant at passing, but I just feel like sometimes there are certain players, and again, we're not always criticizing the way, because I don't think that today's a game, but you know, it's almost a reluctance to give away the ball. I don't know if it's a talk to at the very last moment give away the ball so to create space. I'm not too sure how it's done, but again, just like John said, towards I didn't want the game to end. I thought that we were dominant, and in the second half, just like John, I thought we could come out and get a result, because I weren't nervous anymore. Because Chelsea didn't really create much of a threat sort of towards the back end of the second half. I was thinking, yeah, if we just play our simple game and just keep on doing what we're doing, because we were doing the simple things well, and I think that's the most important thing, because very rarely Arsenal do the simple things well, and that's what we were doing. We're defending well, we were passing well, and trying to create chances. And in the second half, when we came out, I genuinely thought that we had a chance of winning the game. And I mean, I'll be honest, if you'd given me a 0-0 before the start of the game, I would have bitten your hand off for it. But it's weird how I'm almost disappointed that we didn't win the game today. And who would have ever thought that we would have played away to Chelsea at Stamford Bridge and me be disappointed that we didn't win?
Yeah, it was a bit disappointing that we didn't get the win today. Michael Oliver, towards the end of the game, this kind of evened itself up. But at one point, there were 8 fouls to 1. Fouls to Chelsea's 1, and I thought he was a little lax on Chelsea at that point. But I thought he refereed the game quite well. You know, what did you think of that, John? Did you think his performance was a decent one today?
Yeah, I thought he. Oh fuck it! Sorry, I've just seen Valencia's goal for United. Fucking hell!
Yeah,
it's the worldie apparently, is it?
Yeah, really good.
It's pretty good. Oh dear, Coman, what a shame. Anyway, yeah, no, I thought he was good today. He was letting a lot go. I don't think that the tackles that he was letting go, you know, Mustafi and Morata are really going at it today, shoulder to shoulder quite a few times. I think he got the majority of them right. I don't think he really got anything wrong today. He maybe was a little bit overzealous with the yellow cards in the last 5-6 minutes, but I think it's that bit in the game where everyone's getting a little bit biting after what happened with David Luiz. He's trying to keep it calm. But yeah, no, I didn't have any complaints with the referee today. I thought the linos were good, and there was no real, you know, disaster talking point on any decisions, which normally tells you the referee's had a good game. But he was nice because he actually let it flow, and he let people compete as well. There was a physical element in today's game. You know, Kolasinac was flying into tackles. I thought Monreal was very committed today. You know, David Luiz obviously made a tit of himself, because I thought up until that point he'd actually had a pretty good game for Chelsea. Everyone, both players on both sides of the pitch were really flying into tackles, and they seemed to be getting on with it. And I thought the ref handled it really well. So yeah, I've got no complaints from him today. I thought he was very good.
See, on the flip side, I kind of do. Like, I think that I don't think he had a bad game, but I don't think he had a good game. I think that there were so many bitty challenges that he fell for. I don't know if you remember the one where David Luiz was in the box and Lacazette was closing him down, and David Luiz just fell to the floor. Now, he never touched him. I just think, and there were so many other sort of challenges like that the referee fell for. And I just wish that, maybe it's not Michael Oliver, maybe it's refereeing as a whole, that I just think that they shouldn't fall for, pardon the pun, because it's almost like the default mode is, I'm in danger, I know I'm going to try and buy a foul and just fall into the floor. And it happened all over the pitch today, and sort of Michael Owen was just falling for it, and that you think to yourself, just once, just say no foul, and then let the game play on and just see what happens. But I think that John said towards the end, I think there was a flurry of yellow cards where had David Luiz not getting sent off, would they have been yellow cards? It's hard to say. I guess it's you can't really tell, but I don't think he had a good game again, but I don't think he had a bad game, however that sounds.
I get what you're saying. I mean, you look at the one where I think John described it in the group as a rugby tackle by Mustafi, where Morata actually had him by the jersey and pulled him over as he went over. There was lots of little niggly things, people going over a little too easily. And we seemed, at one point, we seemed to be on the wrong end of a lot of those decisions. But I think we rode it well, and we didn't let it get to us as a team. We played the whistle and we played the referee quite well, because it did kind of even itself up towards the end of the game. Karl, I'm going to stick with you on this. There were a couple of great balls later on. The Welbeck's ball to Rambo on attack, Sanchez for Lacazette. We were just a little bit unlucky. We didn't turn these chances into more clear-cut opportunities. Did you think, right, we rode out the Chelsea comeback after the half, and then we started to really dominate again? Or did you think it was more 50-50?
No, I think towards the end of the game, we were the dominant team. And I think towards the end of the game, it was back and forth. And then I think we started to believe that we could win the game. And I think once you get the belief in that your way at Chelsea is 65 minutes and we haven't conceded, you think to yourself, do you know what? We can actually go on and win this game. And I think the belief grew. I think Aaron Ramsey was coming up with brilliant passes. And I think the substitutions, I know a lot of people probably won't agree with me, but I think they were the correct substitutions. I think Lacazette, he wasn't having a poor game, but he wasn't having the best game. So I think bringing Giroud on and trying to change it up a little bit was probably the best idea. Bringing on the players that we did, I think that's what we needed to do that, because I originally thought that he's going to bring off Iwobi first of all, but he didn't.
Well, I'll come to you, but I'm going to stick with you on this now. The Welbeck injury forced his hand there, because El Nene was warming up at that point to come on. He was about to bring El Nene on for Iwobi at that point. But Welbeck's injury forced him to bring Giroud. When Sanchez has been replaced Lacazette, which I'm kind of not sure about, because as one of the commentators said, you keep your goal scorers on for me. Okay, so I have a slight disagreement with you on that, but nothing major. It wasn't the worst thing in the world. I'd have liked to see Iwobi come off at that point, but then he was bringing El Nene on to put him in midfield and push Rambo further up the pitch. All of a sudden, the Welbeck injuries forced his hand slightly. But I thought he handled it quite well. So, what do you think did you think Sanchez improved us up top, or did you think it was more of the same?
I think if Sanchez had a chance to play as a striker, we don't know what would have happened, because he would have been pulling all the players out of position with what he does. I think the Welbeck one, yeah, you're right, it forced our hand a little bit. It was unfortunate, but I think as soon as you bring on El Nene for an attacking player, then that means you're shutting up shop and you're sort of taking what you have already. So had he come on earlier, I don't think I would have liked that, because that for me is, all right, we're taking a draw when we were kind of on top and we're dominating. So why not try and go for the win? I understand what you're saying. I totally understand what you're saying, Jason. But for me, had he brought El Nene on the 60th, 70th minute, for me, that's a bit too early to be shutting up shop, to be saying, right, guys, we're now, because then you're inviting Chelsea pressure, because you're taking off one attacking player. So then you're thinking, okay, we're shutting up shop, and you're just going to invite pressure after pressure after pressure. And especially as Hazard come on, and as you well know, Hazard can change any game. He kind of did. When he came on, he was more direct, running at our players, and it's what Hazard does, because he's that good. Hazard, I think, is a wonderful player. But I felt sorry for Welbeck, definitely, because he was doing all the dirty work. He was chasing down, he was going wide, he was doing everything that you want Danny Welbeck to do, and it was so unfortunate. And I just really hope he's not out for too long. I know it's a groin injury, and I'm hoping maybe in a week's time he'll be back.
Yeah, fingers crossed for Danny Welbeck. You know, 2 good performances back to back. Shame he didn't get a goal today. That would have really set him up. But let's hope he's okay.
I think, Jay, sorry, just quickly on the Lacazette sub. I think the reason that it was Lacazette and not Iwobi was just, I think Arsene knows that as good as Alexis is, and he will work hard, and if he loses the ball, he does try and win it back. He's not going to do it 100% of the time, and he's not always going to follow instruction. He is a little bit too much of a free spirit, and I think if you take Iwobi off, put Alexis wide, you know, whether it's on the right or left, it doesn't really matter. Are you going to get the same work rate out of him? Whereas if you put him up top, you're not relying on him to come back and chase down the balls quite as much. I think it was more about trying to keep the team solid in the shape than anything else. But it was obviously the Giroud. I could have seen Giroud coming on for like 5 minutes at the end or something, maybe if it was still 0-0. I don't think originally it was the plan to bring him on properly until right near the end of the game.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough. I think that's a good point. I'm going to stick with you on this, John. So Bakayoko came on at half time, and what a player he is. He's, you know, he's a specimen. Fair play to him. But again, Ramsey seemed to have him on toast, buying free kicks, you know, getting his face. You know, that midfield battle at that point was really interesting. It was a joy to watch at times. You had, you know, I thought, you know, Xhaka, we know he's not the most mobile. He did enough. I thought Ramsey was magnificent today. I'm going to think that, yes, I do favour him. Let's be straight. But, you know, we were not dominated in midfield. And I heard a lot of people in the run-up to this game say, oh, we're going to get dominated in midfield, etc., etc., etc. We were on top for the majority of it, I felt. Did you still feel that in the second half, mate?
I mean, I thought Chelsea improved, and it was noticeable that it was Bakayoko who came on, because that was the area they were suffering in the most, was in the middle. Conte and Fabregas just weren't getting the play, and it meant that Cesc was pushed a bit higher up and, you know, into where Pedro was, which is not really his favoured position. And they almost at times went to 3 in the middle to try and combat how good sort of Ramsey and Xhaka and that combo was in there. There was a few flashes. You saw a Bakayoko where he sort of won the ball and bustled off a couple of players and then strode forward with it. Dare I say, a little Vieira-esque with one of his runs, just sort of that long stride and marauding through midfield. So, you know, Chris obviously raved about him at Monaco before anyone had really seen him, and he was certainly right. He looks a great player. So I thought they improved, but it wasn't quite enough. I think the real difference was when Hazard came on for them, and you could see the sort of it's the same as any big team. When your big superstar player comes on, everyone in the team sort of gets lifted a little bit, and you think, oh, okay, we've got a bit more of a chance now. Let's try and get him the ball, and the opposition also go, just don't let him get it, you know, kind of thing. So I think that was the real big changer for me in the game.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, no, I agree with that. Okay, as Karl's put in the chat box, if you've got any questions, guys, please put them in the chat box now. We'll pick them up and ask them towards them at the end of the show. David Marr, Ozil was shocking today, was even on the pitch. I think we asked that in the Liverpool game as well. Karl, then there was Ramsey bought a free kick off Bakayoko again. He went to the back of him. And we had a free kick, which again, I think I made this point on the radio show on Thursday. Instead of taking a quick one and getting the play moving again, we took a set piece. If only Mustafi times his run properly, we go ahead. Whoa, how did you feel when that was given offside?
Oh, heartbreaking. I stood up and I shouted. I thought, yes, we've won it. And then when the problem is, you always know when something's wrong when they don't pan to the player running, they pan to the players standing around. And It was heartbreaking. It really was. But it was offside. It was clearly offside. There wasn't even sort of daylight in between. So it's nothing that we can argue against. Had he just timed, it's ifs and buts and maybes. And, if he had timed his run just a fraction, slower, we would have been 1-up. And I think we would have won that game, definitely. But again, games are full of ifs and buts and maybes. And it shows that when we want to, we can do it. Maybe it was just a little bit sort of, I don't know, like in your heart, you're willing that sort of stuff to happen all the time. And hopefully we can get in that position and get another chance to score again. And it was heartbreaking to not see that goal sort of allowed, just because of also Mustafi as well. I mean, we don't know what goes on behind closed doors, but if the reports are to be true that he wasn't happy, you could see the joy on his face when he was running and he was in front of the Arsenal fans. He was celebrating. You saw how happy he was, and sort of to take the goal away from him was almost just like taking away a child's present from Christmas. Like it was horrible. It really was, but I have no complaints. It's not even sort of, oh, maybe he was offside. He was clearly offside. So there's nothing that we can't argue against that.
Yeah, no, totally agreed. I mean, I think I like Mustafi. I've liked him since the first moment he's come here. There have been some criticisms of him, which are right. Sometimes his positioning hasn't been great, and sometimes he does go to ground too quickly, but a player there who could be magnificent for us. And you could, as you could say, the joy in his face earlier on, you can see it means a lot to him. He's a real pro. Akshay Baliga has put in the box, can we take a moment to state Ox has been 5 games at a win? Yeah, good enough for him. He can go to hell. We can also mention that Liverpool had 35 shots yesterday and scored only 1 goal. The question is, did the Ox take 34 of those shots?
I did see since the Ox has left, we're unbeaten in 3, and since he's joined Liverpool, they've lost all 3. So yeah.
I tell you what, he could be a big Jonah. You never know. You never know. Right, John. The Czech save from Hazard. Czech, I thought Czech had a really good game today. I think we need to get a few more runners because he's looking to offload the ball quickly, but we don't seem to have people, free at the time, like the saying of old, the Arsenal relay squad, etc. Yeah. But you can see him looking for it. He was really solid today. That save from Hazard summed it up. And what did you make of him today?
Yeah, I thought he was good today. He didn't have a whole lot to do. I thought the Hazard save, the run up and the build up, you're terrified and you think, oh no, this is going to be a weldy top corner and you got no chance. But I think Hazard places it as well, but checks in the right position. He gets across quick. He gets, makes a good save on it and keeps it in his hand. So I thought he had a good performance, and he's definitely a calming influence on the back 3. He's not as vocal as I'd like him to be. I think that's one criticism I'd have of him. But today he came out and dealt with everything well. The corner as well, right near the end, Fabregas had that and the free kicks. He came out and he collected them really well. Took them, and I think if Lacazette and he tried one long kick, I think, to Alexis that didn't quite come off. And his distribution last season was in question a little bit, but it looked a lot more solid today. And I think maybe if Lacazette's still on and Welbeck's still on, you've got a few more runners. He's got some more targets to hit. It might be something we maybe see later in the season if Walcott does manage to get back into the team, or maybe as an impact sub. He's certainly someone you can just hit those diagonal balls to for him to run onto. But yeah, I'm really pleased with Czech because he came under a lot of criticism last season. I thought some of it a little bit harsh because he's getting exposed a lot, and that's never easy for a goalkeeper. So yeah, you can only do what's put in front of you, and he made every save he needed to today and covered his post well.
Agreed. I want you both to answer this because then comes the David Luiz red. He's lost control of the ball. He's coming forward. His studs are up. He's off his feet. Somebody on the commentary team, I think it was Alan Smith, said, "Oh, it's not a cheap red, but it's a tad harsh all day long. Karl, you first, then John. What's your opinions?
It was a red. Whether it was a nailed-on stone red, if I'm honest, that as an Arsenal player, am I disappointed? Let's say that was Xhaka. Would I be upset? I'd call him an idiot. I'd think he's an absolute idiot for doing that, for making the referee make that decision. But for me, is it a stonewall 100% red? It is, but I think he's more stupid than malicious, if I'm honest with you. I think it was a shit challenge. It was a stupid challenge, and it was a challenge that he didn't need to make. He had lost control of the ball, and I don't think his intent was there to hurt him, because it wasn't that sort of game. And it's not like they were 1-0 down or he was angry about anything. So I don't think it was that sort of game for it to, you kind of get the feel of it. Like you said, there hadn't been, I think, one yellow card before that challenge. But was it stupid? Yes. Was it a red card? Yes. I think it was stupid that he made the referee make that decision. He studs up, but at the end of the law, it was a red card. He studs her up, he lost control, so it was a red card. But if that was an Arsenal player, I'd be more disappointed at the player to make the referee make that sort of decision.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. John?
Yeah, it is a red card. Letter of the law it is. I think when I first saw it, you couldn't really see it clearly in full speed. You just heard the noise. And when you hear a noise like that, you think, oh, Christ, like leg break, that's terrible, straight reds. The way his body's thrown, sort of the action afterwards makes it look worse as well. If it's a couple of years ago, he's probably a yellow and not a red. Do you know what I mean? It's just the way the game has gone now. I don't think there's any intent there to hurt him. I think it is they've both gone for the ball, and it's in the end, David Luiz has lost control of it and he's knocked it too far ahead of himself, and it's ended up being a 50-50. And he's tried to kick through, but it's by the letter of the law now. It is reckless play, and yeah, you can't. I mean, if it's the 1970s, it's not even a free kick. You can keep going back and back in football, can't you? So it's just the way things are now. Good thing is Kolasinac wasn't hurt by the looks of it. Got up, got on with it. His shin pad obviously did something. I'm sure the fact he's made out of steel by the looks of it also helps as well. The big lump. But it's one of those things where it's funny, actually. If that was a different Arsenal player, I could have seen him getting their leg broken. But because it was Kolasinac and he actually went in for the ball and went full swing,
definitely,
you're not going to get hurt. It's when you pull out halfway through, And I think, sometimes, and this is not to take any blame away from David Luiz. It was a dangerous challenge, and the red card was right. But sometimes players get sent off because they are trying to protect themselves, because they're being sensible, because they're going into it full-bodied. Because if you do go in half-hearted, you're a lot more likely to get injured. So yeah, couple of seasons ago it's a yellow, but yeah, now it's a red, and there's no complaints. You can't really argue.
I mean, the one thing for me was he picked up a yellow for the overhead kick in the box earlier on.
Yeah. But that's a little bit unlucky for me. It's difficult because of the Mane thing.
Look, I take a slightly different view to this, okay, and I'll lay it out here now. We've known the issues of concussion for a long time. You go to the Justice for Jeff Astle issue. For those of you who don't know who Jeff Astle is an England international ex-WBA player who suffered brain damage because of the heading of the ball, because the balls are a lot heavier back in the 60s. He represented England in the 1970 World Cup. You have the big payouts of the NFL in the States. You have issues in rugby with head injuries, etc. We know it's a problem. This week, a friend of mine passed away, unfortunately. He had an injury about 8 months ago, a head injury, and he was never the same since, and it's led to him taking his own life. Sooner or later, football has to take head injuries seriously. And I don't give a shit about all these ex-pros, or you've got to go for that. There is something in this game where you have to have a duty of care to your other players. And a boot to the head can cause unknown damage. We know it may only be 1 in 100, but for the love of God, for one person in 100 not to get hurt, it's worth it. It's worth taking out the sport. And I know, you know, we can turn around and say, oh, it wasn't like that in the 80s or the 70s or whatever. I couldn't give a monkey's. Concussion head injuries are a serious issue. And we have to actually do it properly. We have to take it seriously, and we have to make sure we protect players. You know, I agree with what you're saying about David Luiz. I thought he had a good game today. I thought he was. I thought he was physical. I don't think he was dirty in any way, shape, or form. I think the overhead kick, he's purely going for the ball.
Yeah.
I think, you know, he's tried to win the ball back on the red card. But, you know, you have a duty of care to other players.
Yeah.
And the bottom line is the game is quicker now than it's ever been. It is so quick. You know, you watch these guys up close and live, and it's amazing. And I know it takes out some of the skill and some of the not passion, but physicality at the game. But we remember, what's his name, playing for Bolton at Tottenham, ex-Arsenal midfielder with a heart attack. Patrice Muamba.
Yeah.
We saw the outpouring of emotion towards Patrice Muamba when he got hurt. Okay? You know, where something which isn't physical but is a risk. And now every single Premier League ground has a defibrillator, etc., etc., etc. There's one day is going to come when somebody's not lucky with this, and you know we need to look at it. You know, it's not just football; it's all sports. And you know these players, they don't need to hurt anybody. I'm positive that there's only the odd idiot about, but you know it needs to be addressed, I think. To move on for that, then sorry to sort of go on one and that, but when Luiz gets sent off, Conte makes a quick substitution. Morata comes off, Christensen comes on. I think that was a sign that he was not confident. By the way, to everybody in the chat box, thank you very much for your thoughts. I appreciate that. See, Conte was not confident of coming out of this with a win. What did you think of that, Karl? Did you think, maybe the tide has turned in these games now? You know, he's put a defender on for a striker straight away.
I think when you go down to 10 men, that's something you would naturally do anyway, or any good manager. Arsene Wenger will probably say, give it 10 minutes and then see what happens. But no, it's you think to yourself, you're down to 10 men, we were on top. So I think that's a sensible thing to do, just the same as we brought on El Nene to sort of shore up the game. I think it was the same thing that Conte did, just to say, you know what, let's settle for the 1 point. There's no point of trying to go too gun-ho and pushing forward too much, and then Arsenal sort of counter-attack us or get a late cheap win. So I think it was something that needed to be done. And you know, you're at home, he down to 10 men, you don't want to lose the game. So Conte is just not a smart man, because for me that's natural. If you're down to 10 men, you're drawing the game, let's not lose the game, let's stick with the point we got. So bring on another defender just to make sure that we don't concede.
No, that's fair enough. John, you mentioned it earlier on, all of a sudden the yellow cards are flying out.
Yeah.
I liked the way we were tactically fouling. I loved the way we were tactically fouling. You know, we were. Hector made a great foul. Ramsey made one. You know, we're stopping the attacks. You know, we know it's the crunch part of the game, and we are stopping attacks before they start. What do you make of all that?
It's nice to see. It's something we don't see the players do enough. Bellerin did a really good one. Kolasinac as well. I think Monreal took one. You know, it's something we need to bring into our game. We've got kind of this habit, or got used to this. We're this very nice football team, and we don't like doing these kind of things, and we always complain when other teams do it. But if you want to win the big games, you have to do those kind of things. It's all part of it. If you want to challenge for a title or you win a trophy, you have to put those things into your game, because if you don't do that, you're going to concede what in the end is a soft goal, because it's come from a loose pass or someone being 5 yards out of position. And yeah, sometimes you just got to be cynical enough just to grab the back of someone's shirt and just pull them down. If there's a couple of minutes to go, you know, the players know how much time there is left in the game. They're sensible. You know, and when you're playing against 10 men as well, and there's only that period of time left, you just don't want to concede. It's like, yeah, if we come out of here with a draw, that's perfectly fine. We'll take that. That's a good result for us, you know, especially with our away record against the top 6 teams. That's much better. So, if anything, it's something I hope we see more of. Because all the top teams do it. It's something you've got to do. So hopefully it comes more into our game. Because all the best Arsenal teams that have ever won, you know, the league, you know, you think of Arsene Wenger's great teams in the late 90s and early 2000s, and George Graham's great teams, they all did it. They're all cynical. They were getting red cards, you know, bookings, you know, taking one for the team, so to speak. They all did it, and that's what you need if you want to win something.
Agree. And what I liked about it today as well was there was a whole host of players doing it. It wasn't just defenders, it was in the midfielders, etc. You know, we were good at that. Right, so before we go to questions, Carl, were you happy with the draw, or do you feel we should have won it?
No, I was absolutely happy. Like I said at the beginning of the game, if you had given me a 0-0, would I be happy? Yes. Kind of towards the end of the game, I was disappointed. I'm not going to lie to you, because I felt that we could have won the game. The game was there for us to the taking. I don't want people to say, "Oh, Chelsea were poor today." It wasn't the fact that Chelsea were poor. We were good. You know, we defended well. We passed well. You know, our finishing was maybe just a little bit off, but you know, like I said earlier on, when you go away to Chelsea and you come out of the game and you're disappointed with a draw, that's when you know that you could have come away with something. And I think that I think it's rather a point rather than 3 points lost. It's not. Sorry, let me start that again. It's not a point lost. I think it's we get. What am I trying to say? Let me start that one again. Sorry, I'm so tired. Right, let me say it again. I think we rather dropped 3 points rather than gained a point, because the game was there for the taking. We could have easily won that today. We were very, very good. And like I said, I'm disappointed that we've gone away to Chelsea and we haven't won the game. And we could have easily won that game. And I guess this should be a turning for Arsenal. You know, Arsene Wenger on Monday should go into training and say to them, look, we went away to Chelsea and we got a point. There's not many teams that are going to do that this season. There's not many teams that have done that in the previous season. So let's now kick on. If you look at our next games, there are, I think the next 6 are easily 6 winnable games. And I mean, very easily, we should be winning those. So this should be a springboard for us to go on and sort of get momentum and climb up that table.
Yeah, I totally agree, mate. John, your thoughts?
Yeah, much to echo Karl's, really. Just really good performance. Was really pleased today. You know, we didn't have our 2, you know, big name players starting in the game, and we pulled out a performance that I don't think any Arsenal fan's going to be disappointed with that. And if anything, yeah, Karl's right. We could have and maybe should have won the game. You know, Arsene changed things at the right time. I think the only time he was forced to was obviously the Welbeck injury. But I think he made all the right subs. He made the right call on the players. The players' attitude was really good today from everyone. They're all fighting for each other. There was, you know, even when they didn't get a few decisions, no one's heads dropped. And it's frustrating because we have these sort of results every now and again where we get a away win or something, or a big performance, and you just want it to kick on. I'm not going to get overexcited because it's happened in the past, but you know, to go to Chelsea and sort of the kind of disarray that we've been in, not have all our best players available for whatever reason, and get a draw in a game, yeah, maybe you should have won. It's really good for us. So hopefully. Now, we just want to go on a run of not just wins, but convincing performances, I think is the big thing. Getting the points is great, but you want to have convincing, solid performances, and hopefully the players can take something from that today.
I totally agree. I mean, I genuinely thought we were going to go there and win. Okay, you know, I don't buy all the doom and gloom at the moment. This Arsenal crisis, I think there are issues to be faced. But I think there's been a bit of a pack mentality about the team recently. And I think we've great core squad. The depth coming off the bench today was very impressive. If only we could have got a midfielder in the summer transfer window, I'd have been happy. I think we needed, a midfielder and another. But, I don't think we're a bad team. And I think, there's a lot more to come from this team. I was disappointed we didn't get the win. Okay, we're about to go to 2 questions now. We're just a quick couple of mentions in the box. 73295. Welbeck is now out for 2 years, according to history. You're a bad man. You're a really bad man. Guys, all the guys, like Karl is knackered today because he's had one hell of a week in work. John gives up his time. Chris, Danny, Danny got out of bed to set this up for us today. Ellis, who's on holiday in South Africa. I hope you're enjoying Ellis. Josh, all the guys give up their time to do this. Nobody takes any money out of it. Nobody gets anything for it. If you could give us a thumbs up, we would really, really appreciate it. There's a lot of people we see on a regular basis in this box, in the chat box, and who listen to us, and we're very thankful for your support. It does mean a hell of a lot when we see the same people coming up, and we kind of know you guys. We met a couple last week at the game, and it's fantastic. But a quick thumbs up would really be appreciated. Thank you. Karen Ramamurthy, I've got it right this time. Big question: has Wenger turned a corner? Or is this just a one-time thing? I'm going to go to you, Karl.
Time will tell. You can't judge a season after a few games. I think what we need to do is come Christmas. I think even now the tables are live. No matter what's going on the table at the moment, you can't really judge it. When it comes to Christmas, that's when the table starts to take form, and that's when you start to look at the table and think, okay, well, so this team is quite serious. That team is, going to drop down the table. This team is going to go night. So I think at the moment you can't really take the table too seriously. Come Christmas, you need to look at it. And if Arsene Wenger carries on, I think he needs to make important decisions. I think whether Ozil was well or not, injured or not, we don't know. And I guess we will never, ever know. But I think picking the right players in the right positions for the right teams, I think that's going to be the key thing that he needs to do. I think none of this trying to fit square pegs in round holes anymore. If the player is a left foot, I'll play him on the left. If it's right, play him on the right. We need to, I think what you'll find this season is Sanchez won't be the star man all the time, because if he's going to go, we can't just rely on him for this season. We can't rely on him all the time because he's not going to be here next season. And let's face it, he's definitely going to go next season. So I think where you're looking at things now, and that will be a big thing to say, look, we went away to Chelsea, we got a draw, and we didn't have Ozil and we didn't have Sanchez, arguably our 2 best players. So that just shows that this team is capable of doing good things. Whether they can do it on a consistent basis, we don't know, and time will tell. It's one of those things where you're hoping, like I said the next couple 6 games, I think we should win. We've got West Bromwich Albion next Monday, and then we've got Borislav, Brighton and Hove Albion, Watford, Red Star Belgrade, and Everton. You hear those names and you think to yourself, they are winnable games. But it all depends on what Arsenal turn up and whether the tactics are right, whether he picks the right players, and we go with the right mentality to go and to win those games.
Cool. Okay, I like that. John and 235100Q asks, why can't Arsenal perform like this consistently?
That's the big question, and honestly, I think it comes down to partly the manager. Sometimes you've got to give him credit when he gets things right, and you can only assume that he's said something to the players today, or the players themselves have got together and had a chat about their performances and know they've got to raise their level. And for whatever reason, they just, as games go on and they win and they get, the sort of the smaller teams, so to speak, and they get the comfortable wins, their level drops a little bit. But maybe they don't notice it, and maybe we don't because the opposition isn't as good. And then when you come up against Man City or Chelsea or United, you've got to kick it up a gear again, and we're just not doing that at the moment. I hope it's just. I'd like to think, it's something that we can fix and sort out. I'm not 100% convinced as of yet. I still think that leaders in the team and on the pitch is still somewhat of an issue. I'm not sure we have enough that do it consistently. And sometimes I don't think the manager is strong enough either with his instructions. But we don't know what's said before the game, so it can only be speculation. So you hope that after the torrid time that the team had last year and the way Arsenal was treated by some fans, me included, not as bad as some others, obviously, but that maybe he's taken a bit of reflection from that and gone, you know what, I really have got to change and adjust my thinking when it comes to these bigger games. And I hope that's what he does. But yeah, like Karl said, you can't tell until later on in the season. And then you have to see when, we have to play United or a City and see how we approach it in that.
Okay, cool. Karl, Marble Halls TV. Is Chelsea, a secondary rival to Spurs? It's clear in Arsenal, Chelsea are far away the biggest clubs in London now. Poch is a teenager when they last won a decent trophy.
I think, for me, the greatest rival will always be Spurs. It always will be. I'm an 80s baby and a 90s fan, so second be Man United. Man United would always be the second biggest rivals, as I grew up in the era of always Arsenal, Man United, Arsenal, Man United. So for me, Tottenham are always the biggest rival, no matter what. Then Manchester United, Chelsea, they're like new money. Do you know what I mean? When someone newly gets rich and then they start buying everything, and that's what happened. Chelsea, they got a new rich owner and then started buying up football. I still see Chelsea as a rival, definitely, as one of our biggest rivals, only because of location. That's the only way there are rivals, because they're not rivals at anything else. I mean, I probably hate Stoke more than I hate Chelsea, if I'm really honest. And so for me, Chelsea are a rival, definitely, but not one of our biggest, I don't think, only because of the location, just because they're in London.
Okay, fine. Oh, I've lost that. Right. Jim Howson, John. Why is Lacazette not playing amazingly as he did at Lyon? Do you think we should adapt to his style to help him?
I don't think you can judge him yet. You've seen him score a great goal. You've seen him score a great goal with Disallowed. He isn't the kind of striker who's going to take a lot of shots. He's very clinical. Once he gets his eye on goal, then he will. He'll take a shot, and generally does finish today. Obviously, he didn't. It was a bit disappointing. I think he probably is better with Mesut Ozil in the team, just because he's used to playing with that kind of player. Nabil Fekir at Lyon isn't exactly the same style of player as Mesut Ozil is, but he can find those passes. And Lacazette knew when he was at Lyon that if he just made whatever run he made, the ball was going to get to him, and Fekir would find him. And Ozil can do that. And today on the pitch, we had less of those sort of players. So in the thing is, in big games like this, your strikers are going to get a lot less chances. This is not, playing West Brom or Stoke or someone like that, where we're going to have 10, 12, really good, decent chances. Against the Chelsea, you might only get one or two. So I'd still give him time. I think whenever a player changes leagues, it's a big adaptation for them, and the physicality from the French league to the Premier League is not as big a step up as some people might think, but it's still there and it's still adjusting. So I'd give him time. I don't think we need to change our style particularly. I think, to be honest, you can play long ball for him over the top and he can run onto that. That's fine. But our pretty little winter play passing is perfectly suited to him as well. So I don't think it's an adjustment. I think it's more him adjusting to the league than him adjusting to our style of play.
No, I think it's fair comments. Karl, Alonso Spencer asks, do you see Iwobi as a replacement for Ozil? If it has come to that point, or is he better on the wing?
I hate comparing players to other players. I think Iwobi has his own certain style, and so does Ozil. I think whereas Ozil is very restrictive, he can only play in the number 10. Oh, sorry, that's his preferred position. And I think when you make him play elsewhere, he doesn't play as well. I think that's always an issue. Whereas Iwobi can play as a number 10, can play in the wing. So Iwobi gives us different things that Ozil gives us. I'm not saying more, I'm not saying less. It just gives us something different. I think that when Ozil, if leaves and he's out of our team, will we play with a traditional number 10 again? I don't think we will. I think we're more adapting to Ozil than Ozil adapting to us. So I think but because they give us different things, I think I hate comparing Iwobi to Ozil because they're just totally different players and they give us different things.
I think it's a fair comment. Akshay Baliga asks, yes, me actually, Ramsey's game, a hit or a miss for you, or a sign of things to come? Have we found the pairing in Jack and Ramsey? I genuinely, Akshay, I don't get the grief that Aaron Ramsey gets on occasion. I think he's a bit of a scapegoat. I think that at some points last season, yes, he's coming back from injury and it's difficult, because you're forming a new partnership as well with a player new to the club. Today, I thought Aaron Ramsey was magnificent. I thought Xhaka was brilliant as well. I think that's the pairing. That's the way forward for us. The big thing for us, Ramsey and Xhaka this season, is to manage them correctly. And with Burgess here as a performance director, I think he is going to put some around the use of these guys. You saw Ramsey getting substituted early against Cologne. I think that was, the correct decision. It's managing a guy who in the past has been overused and flogged by Wenger, and he needs to stop that nonsense, because a squad of very talented players. It's exactly the same with Koscielny and his Achilles, Santi and his Achilles last season. Why Santi played that game against Ludogorets, I'll never know. It seemed pointless, but there you go. Yeah, I think Ramsey and Xhaka can really take us forward. I would like to see another come in so we can play a 3 at times in the middle. Another really quality midfielder to play a 3 in the middle at times, or so that we can rotate. Be Jack, it would be nice to see Jack come back to fitness and really contribute towards this squad. That would be wonderful to see. Am I going to hold my breath on that? No, the guy's had so much bad luck with injury. It's been really difficult for him. But if Ramsey and Xhaka together can take these performances forward, because they are a pairing, and if they're both playing well, we're going to be a real threat in this league. It would be fantastic. That's about it for today, guys. Thank you everybody for contributing. It's amazing to us how the numbers go up on a good performance or a bad performance, etc. That's always funny to us. But as always, you guys are there. You stick with us, and it's fantastic. If you can give us a thumbs up, that would be magnificent. One more question to you, John and Karl. John, to you, the defence today, I thought we looked bloody solid. What did you make of it? Because I thought I know Ramsey got man of the match, but for me, the defence was the high point of the game. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I thought Mustafi in particular, out of the back three, I thought was exceptional. He really dealt with Morata well, who's a lot better of a player than I think some people have judged him for. He wasn't at Juventus, at Real Madrid for nothing. So him in particular at the back three, but I thought, Koscielny and Monreal were really, really good. But it wasn't just them three, it was the whole team as a unit. They really defended well and covered each other. The midfield were tight. We would have spoke about Jack and Ramsey were coming in. The wing backs today were excellent, covering at the right times. And all three forwards worked really hard today to close down and to get back when they could and cover. And it kind of highlights an issue 73295 has been bringing up. Are we better without Ozil? On today's performance, yeah, we were, because And again, this is not to have a pop at Mesut Ozil, but I think sometimes there are games where he won't be suited for necessarily, because I'm not sure he would have put the work rate in and the shift in. And today's performance was one of those of, if one player out the team wasn't doing it, then the whole thing might have fallen apart. So honestly, the whole squad deserves man of the match today. But yeah, the back three in particular were really good at making those last-ditch challenges when they needed to. So great performance from all of them.
Brilliant. Karl, similar question to yourself, but I want you to pinpoint, I thought Mustafi was magnificent, but I thought Koscielny was very, very effective, and Monreal was out of this world, very aggressive, and his link-up play coming in and joining the attack at times was a joy to watch, just being that extra man. What did you make of those two guys?
I thought today Koscielny was absolutely brilliant. I think he knows when to step out. He knows when to stay in. He knows when to stay touch tight. He knows when to give the player space. I think if we can manage him correctly, he will be an absolute brilliant addition for us this season, because he's not going to play every game. He can't play every game. He's managing his Achilles injury that he's got, and that's what we need to do. I think we need to, like you said, Jason, we need to manage all our players, not just Aaron Ramsey, not just Koscielny. I think all our players, we need to manage them correctly. No player can play every single game of the season. And for a bit, I worry about Bellerin for a little bit, because I just don't think we've got adequate cover on the right. Because if you think the only one is Debussy, and he hasn't played for ages, so if, God forbid, if Bellerin gets injured, who do we play at right? But I guess if that ever happens, that's when we'll see. For me, I look at our defense, and I think that it hurts me a little bit to think that for the beginning of the season we were putting square pegs in round holes, playing people in that position when we easily could have played the correct people in the right position and maybe got different results. I mean, hindsight's a wonderful thing, and we won't know that. Mustafi, I hope that whatever rumours about his private life and whether he wanted to leave or didn't leave, that's I guess that's neither here nor there. I just hope that he settles down for this season. He just enjoys his football. I just hope that Arsene Wenger said to everyone, look, this is the team that we have for this season. Let's enjoy this season. Let's just play football this season. Worry about the end. Worry about next season at the end of the season. Don't worry about it throughout the season. Just play your football and just do the simple and basic things correctly. And as long as we do that, our defense can be brilliant, because we do have a very good defense. We have players that can come in and exchange, whether it be a back four, whether it be a back three. We've got that adaptability that we can change it up a little bit. I just hope that our players stay fit and we manage them correctly, and also not just manage them correctly, just like I said before, playing the right players in the right position, because that's really important.
I totally agree with you. Right, Marble Halls TV, walk the plank. I think he's out looting booty, to be honest with you. Who knows with Chris? Who knows? I think he's getting his hair dyed. But God love him. We're looking forward to having him back soon. Jim Howson, who would I like to see to come back in the three? I don't know. Genuinely, Seri sounds like a player for it, but who knows? That's it from us, guys. Paguna Shy 77. The plank in those boots. He's seen Chris's boots. That's horrendous. Well played. Yeah. Thank you all ever so much. It's a joy for us to be able to do this with you guys. You're always there. You're fantastic. Thank you ever so much. My thanks to Karl. Karl, after a hell of a week, you turn up once again. Well played. Thank you, buddy.
Thanks for having me. It's lovely to come on and talk about Arsenal as always.
Well, mate, it's always a pleasure having you, and especially after a performance like that. John, you stay old dog. Good to have you on board again, son.
Yeah, great to have you back as well, Jace.
Oh, the joys of it, the joys. They don't meet you on too often, I tell you. Yeah, guys, thank you ever so much. If you can give us a thumbs up, that's magnificent. We'd really appreciate it. It's all stuff we say is thank you. Take care. Goodbye. Keep it Arsenal. All the best, peeps. Now, if I can find this off button.